Hi, I'm Austin Erdman.
And I'm Taylor Patton, and welcome to the Kitchen Table Podcast.
We're here to motivate, educate, and relate to you guys, sharing our stories, helping you get of the 1440. We're going to be talking about our 1 year anniversary because by the time we start season 3, we will have hit 1 year doing the Kitchen Table Podcast. It started as the 1%. It became the Kitchen Table because that's where you have conversations that are most meaningful a lot of the time. And you know what? We can get 1% better every day no matter what. So, some stats that I would like to bring up in this podcast, Mr. Patton. Number one, the coolest stat I have found of our podcast, we have reached people in 29 different countries.
Which is wild.
Yeah, I looked, there's like Indonesia, Finland, there's some Republic of Jordan or something. I mean, that's like Middle East, Africa. I mean, we got obviously the U.S. and South America, North America. We got literally every continent except for we got Australia, New Zealand. We got everything except for Antarctica.
Heck yeah.
For continents hit in a year.
Yeah.
It could be one listen. It could be, I mean, obviously the majority is, I think the top three are America, Canada, and then Mexico. Germany was up there too. It was like 4% from Germany. It's because we're German. It's not like you can just find our podcast, you know what I mean? Like, you have to search it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not like we're huge.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. Episode 1 was our best episode, which makes sense. That was the greatness episode, which our audio, yeah. So,
but I feel like everyone, no matter like if you just start listening out, everyone wants to listen to the first one.
Yeah, that's just how it goes. And the number 2 is the next highest, so hopefully they saw the audio was better. We have made 77 episodes in our year. So we didn't do the 1440 for the first, basically half the first season, and then you came up with the 1440. So we have 77 total episodes, which is pretty cool. And we've had over 2,000 listens or plays, and over 61,000, comes out to over 61,000 minutes listened to.
Wow.
So if you take
thank you. Like, that's just like awesome to hear. Like, just appreciate all y'all and your support and everything. That's just wild.
So we take the number of plays or number of minutes listened divided by the 1440, right? So that's 1% of your day. We got 4,066% better this year in terms of last year. If you want to do like once a day, multiple times a day, we reach that many people,
right? Which
is awesome. It means, in all reality, it's a tiny impact,
right?
But it's also a huge impact.
Yeah. But that's just awesome.
Most of our listeners have been Apple Podcasts is 54%, and then when we listen on Spotify, because we don't get the stats from Apple Podcasts specifically, we could probably ask for them or look them up. But Spotify, 56% of our listeners are ages 23 to 27, which makes sense with where our age group is, and the, I guess, friends and family. You know what is a cool stat, though, I think is really cool, you guys might think it's boring, is 50-50 men and women.
Yeah.
So a lot of podcasts, it's focused on a certain population. Now, the only population I think we have is you have to be of age to kind of, you got to be 7 at least probably, because you got to understand the comprehension of your brain and how to get better and stuff, you know, like willingly. And I also think that it's interesting that we don't have anybody can do ours, I guess. Like some are just towards men or women or young, old. We've had every single section. Spotify only takes 18 to, I think, 77. Everybody's listened. We've had a 77-year-old listen to our podcast.
Heck yeah. Yeah, 1% better.
Yeah, so I kind of lost my train of thought there. I thought it was very interesting that we're open to everybody, which means we can impact that many more people, which I've talked about on the podcast before. Last major stat I have, and then we can kind of just decipher some of this, is the worst episode was a self-help episode. Granted, it's only been, 3 weeks old. Oh, that's where my train of thought is. But our podcast, some of the stuff is we have to help people who want to be helped. Otherwise, why would you listen? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Just to hear you talking.
I don't think that's the case. But I think it's interesting that self-help is the least listened to episode or watched episode for YouTube.
Really?
Because I think, like, why would you be listening to Kitchen Table? Because we say right away what it's about getting 1% better, and it's not like we have catchy titles. I mean, sometimes we do, but most of the time it's just straight up. So the self-help, you would think that people would want that because that's how you get improvement.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, and granted,
I think a lot of people are scared of the word self-help.
yes, I wouldn't disagree with that. And I would. Sorry, that was that weird English. I wouldn't disagree. I would agree.
I wouldn't necessarily agree.
I should change that to positive. I should change that to positive. I would agree. Yeah. But I think maybe influence is. I would say season 2 was not as good as season 1 in terms of listeners, just pure numbers. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right because people are scared of what other people might think, or the influence they have on themselves or others, or how to get better. Versus before, we're talking about failure, greatness, organization, mentality, stuff like that. There's a little more catchy words than you can influence somebody, this and that.
Reverse influence.
Yeah, reverse psychology. Yeah. That's a little more deeper. So I think it's unfortunate. And that could be my fault because I'm the one who came up with the series for influence. But I think that people like power, and influence has power.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm hoping people want to have self-help. Otherwise, why would they listen to the podcast? You know what I mean? Remember when we hit 1,000? Season 2 couldn't have been that much worse. Maybe we just had more episodes, but we hit 1,000 in October? So roughly half the year.
Mm-hmm. We've got constant numbers.
Yeah, not bad. Anyways.
He's like, okay, I'm excited again.
Well, it's just, I was kind of down. A couple of weeks ago, I looked at our numbers and I was like, man, this isn't going very well.
I don't know. I really haven't looked at our numbers in so long.
And I really don't care. I'm not a big numbers person, but if you, I should say in the podcast, I'm not a big numbers person. But if you look at the growth we've made, granted, we started at 0, but we've done a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud of our efforts in that. And yeah, like Taylor said, I want to reiterate, thank you to you guys. Mm-hmm. Without you guys, we're nothing, literally. Yeah. Hopefully, we have it right behind us. Our goal is to create value, get educated, share our stories, and then obviously the quotes and the media and the guests, all that kind of stuff is not as important as creating the value, but yes, create the value. Yeah. That's why don't stop. You stack those bricks, right?
We didn't talk about it in the main one, but I guess let me before we got into that. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, those are the stats. I think that I want to share. We'll put them on Instagram here.
So my thing is like, what's your thought process when you reach somewhere or get somewhere and it isn't what you wanted or you didn't reach the goal that you wanted?
I love it because I just did my goals last week. I do them 3 times a year, right? So spring, fall, and then summer. Mm-hmm. And I just did mine for the spring. I was looking back and I was writing my new ones for the summer. We still have a week left.
Yeah.
But I was just in the classroom, so I had nothing else to do. So like, just a good time. And you know what? I've always thought about this because there's always plenty of goals I don't reach. Although I am very proud of myself for this spring semester. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't reach your goal, if it's a realistic goal and it's a smart goal, as in you have defined boundaries of what you want it to be, even if you don't reach it, you are getting better because you're better off than not trying at all or not writing it down or having a vision or a set purpose. So I don't think it shouldn't be about the outcome. It should be about what have I done in the journey from A to B. That's what matters. A and B are just 2 points, right? Whatever you do between those 2 points, your actions, habits, who you influence, who you become as a person, that's what really matters. And that's the reward, not being the outcome. Because the outcome, I think I shared this quote the other day, the outcome is literally a speck in time. maybe I didn't. Maybe I was just talking to Steph about this. An outcome is literally a speck of time, right? You write down a goal, you do it. When the final whistle blows or you reach your list goal, whatever that is, that happens in 1 second. Your goal is reached in a second, right? Whenever you completed it, it's done. Versus the process, that could be 3, 6, 9 months, years, centuries, right? Whatever it might be. Maybe not centuries. That'd be a lofty goal. But I think that is the main purpose. So if you don't reach your goal, you know what? It's not an excuse to say, hey, I got closer, I didn't reach my goal, to not set a new goal or to keep that same goal and work towards it. But if it's not a definite timeline, like you don't have to reach it by this time. And again, what do you have to reach by a certain time, right? Technically, there's always a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
Sure, there's not many athletes after 26, and you don't have a kid after 40, and this and that. But it's not impossible. So as long as you keep working towards that goal and it's realistic, again, I can't stress enough about the realistic. It's way worth it, in my opinion, because you're getting better no matter what. And that's the purpose, is get 1% better. If you can stack those days, then that's when you really become who you're supposed to. That's my thought. To deal with that process. That was just a question. I went off too long.
You know where my question stems from?
What?
Our trip this last weekend.
For the goals?
Like, yeah. For all those who don't know, we took a weekend trip. We supposed to go to Isle Royale. How do you say it? I can't speak English.
Isle Royale
National Park.
For the second time.
It's in the northern part of Minnesota, and this is their second time going up there to try and catch a flight to the island. So the first time we bought tickets, went up there, and they only gave us 1 ticket for 2 people after we bought 2 tickets. And so then we came back, and we just went up there this past weekend, and they had to cancel the flight because of fog. And so we weren't able to go on our flight to get to the island. So now we have to go back for a third time to hopefully go on the island. The reason why I asked that is because after, when we were driving back, even when they were like, we didn't even leave. So he got off the phone. This is Austin's exact words. The lady calls, gets off the phone. He's like, that's it. I don't care. I'm not coming back. That's why I asked about like the goals and the journey.
Yeah, it's just, I think, again, so the goals of mine have changed from reaching all the national parks, because half the national parks I'm going to just to check a box.
Yeah.
Whereas, again, it's just like investing. Why would you invest something where you can make 10% when you can invest in something else to make 50%? Why not invest in 50%? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Unless you work for the company or you really believe in that company, like, why not? Like, to me, seeing that extra part, it'd be cool. And if I'm 65, I'll go see it if I really want to check it off my list.
Yeah.
But if I'm not, I have so many other places I'd rather go instead before I do that. And so I'm not going to stress and try to spend time adding more to my schedule when I would rather do other things that become a priority. So I'm trying to get better at not just crossing things off my list and actually doing things that are going to
and that's
suffice for
right. And that's
lifelong term.
It's like,
again, it's the difference between giving up and just
and it doesn't
being okay with it.
Yeah. And that's my thing, is like, it doesn't need to be completed. Like, there's no time limit.
Off the list, like, okay, I did this, right?
Yeah.
I see a college. Oh, I saw the tower. I've been to that college. I'll write it down.
Yeah. And I think one thing is you were driven by checking boxes off.
Yeah, which is, I'm trying to get away from that, because I'm trying to get in more the purpose. Like I said, having the game night that we had instead of going to the park, way better. Yeah. If you told me that 9 times out of 10, I'd rather do the game night.
Okay. But if we went to the park on Tall Moose, you'd be like,
yeah, it would. I said when we were on the way up, if we go to this park and we see a moose,
it'd be worth it.
That'd be way worth it.
Because
the scenery is going to be the same as where we were.
And we're a little bit over time.
It's all right.
Yeah. Because then I like how then you're like, the destination or the journey is cooler than the destination, because the destination's for 1 second, the journey is for.
Yeah, Yeah.
You give an X amount of
Again,
time.
it's so true.
You're like, I just think it's funny because like the drive, you're like, F this. I'd point something out, you get 2 shits.
The tree was cool.
And I'm like, this is.
It's because again,
like,
it's
this
such
is ever. And you're like,
okay.
don't care.
But here's what we don't talk about that I thoroughly do enjoy. Again, I like having the time to listen to podcasts. We had a great conversation on the way up about stuff we haven't talked about for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
That I enjoy. Could I do it now? The only reason I don't enjoy the journey is because I said I hate sitting in a car and then my leg hurts. I'm stuck here. Like I'm just not comfortable. If I had a bed, by all means, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Hey, that's.
And the fog we went through, that was an experience. Sleeping in the car for 3 hours in the middle of, we went from 80 degrees to 40 degrees that day.
Yeah.
The density of the fog, the time of night,
yeah.
Getting up, having coffee, going to the same gas station twice, like that's the journey. I enjoy that. Now, back to priorities. Would I rather snap my fingers and be at the park in that instance? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone could snap their fingers.
Because that's the purpose of why I'm going there.
If anyone could snap their fingers, there'd be no point for goals. I mean, there's no journey. It's just destination after destination.
Correct. And I'm saying that in this instance, my outcome to me is what I was looking for because I wanted to check the box off.
Yeah.
Now, in sports, I've learned to love. For instance, on Monday, I did not want to get up and work out on Memorial Day. But once I got stretching and stuff, I was like, you know what? I cannot wait to do this. That's something that I love the process. I love going from, like today I was trying to hit my lift and I didn't make my clean. But yesterday I hit my bench. And hopefully Thursday I hit my snatch, which is, I'm all about optimism. I was like, it's okay that I didn't hit my clean. I'll hit my snatch instead. Mm-hmm. So it's all about optimism, which is a whole nother podcast. But those are the things you really care about, the priorities. You will care about the process. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's basically where your priorities at, and that's how you know if you're setting the correct goals. Mm-hmm. Me setting a goal to go to all the countries, I could care less to go to Uganda. What's in Uganda that I really want to see? Nothing. I want to check it off the list. Right? Why do I want to go to Guatemala? Okay, there's a cool volcano that I want to see in Guatemala, but you know what I mean? Like, there's just some countries like Paraguay. I can go to Brazil and see the waterfalls. It's technically Paraguay too, but other than that, I don't have any reason to go to Paraguay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just checking off a list. So why not do something with people that I enjoy instead?
In the real thing, if one of your goals is to go to every country in the world, there's not a ton of people that have done that. No,
correct, and I do like that aspect of it because I've always been about doing that kind of stuff. And you're right, and that does drive me a little bit. But it's also, I'm at the point of like, normally, like when we didn't go last year, I was like, okay, we're going this year at this time, and I gave us like a rough estimate of when we could go. I was like, we came here in the fall, let's go in the spring so we can see different scenery. You know what I mean? And now it's like, okay, if we go to Michigan and take a different route. Yeah. And then we can see the top peninsula and make it worth it. You go through Wisconsin. But again, that's not the top priority.
Yeah, in your life right now.
And if I don't, I'm getting away from, okay, I have to do this then. Mm-hmm. If I come back, you know what? If it works out in life, great. If it doesn't, I'm not going to stress about it and be like, I have to do this. Like, I'm tired of doing that.
Yeah.
So if it works out, great. If not, like American Samoa. Steph and I are trying to go, we're going on a honeymoon to Hawaii, and I want to go to American Samoa. Because one, I think it's to be a cool place to go, and they have the huge people. And two, they have an awesome national park, and it looks awesome on pictures, so I just really want to see it. But we can't get there. Like, you got the COVID, you got 14 days isolation. So I'd have to go back there again. It's like, you know what, I'll find a time to go back, and if it doesn't work, then hey, you know what?